Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the AI 2030 Show. My name is Anastasia Tracy Races, and I am the founder and CEO of Aquilia Group, a Seattle-based consulting firm. I'm also a director and advisor for FinTech for Good and AI 2030. And for today, I'm your host. It's no secret the world is evolving at an unprecedented pace, driven by the dynamic synergy between artificial intelligence and cloud infrastructure. These two transformative technologies are not only enabling, but catalyzing a new era of innovation, disruption, and transformation in industries such as finance and healthcare, as an example. The significance of this lies in how AI and cloud infrastructure are catalysts for innovation and are fundamentally reshaping the landscape. In today's episode, we have as our guest Ganesh Natesan, a seasoned technology leader with over 20 years of experience in fintech, healthcare, and information security sectors, with tenures that include Amazon Web Services, Bank of America, and loanDepot. Ganesh has orchestrated pivotal digital transformations and pioneered the integration of cutting-edge technologies like CBDC, Web3, and Amazon Managed Blockchain. At the forefront of AI and cloud-native technology, Ganesh is currently in the startup space, including as a founder in a healthcare startup. Welcome, Ganesh, and a heartfelt thank you for joining to share your expertise with us today. We are truly honored to have you here. And now, without further ado, let's dive into our very first question. So, how do, from your perspective, AI and cloud infrastructure intersect, reshaping the landscapes of industries such as healthcare and finance?
Thanks, Tracy. It's an honor to be here for FinTech for Good. My understanding is that, by sharing the knowledge, the industry experience, it's going to help people and industry experts to build the responsible AI that's going to impact, a large set of people. So when it comes to the cloud and the AI, for example, like about 10 years back, right, when it comes to a startup, is someone who has an idea where they want to build artificial intelligence related application or programming, the access used to be really tough, meaning they don't have enough compute power or the storage capacity. And also the framework, the foundation to build application for the business and for the customers, right? But whereas now, by having this access to the cloud computing, which is like, offers the elasticity, it offers like exponential amount of computing power. It's much, much easier for any startup or a mid-sized company, even a big enterprise, for them to transform themselves. I'll give an example of, say, for a healthcare industry, if someone wants to build a model just to scan some of the images in order to detect where the diseases are, right? It can be a CT scan, it can be an X-ray, or it can even some of the devices that is offering the data. Getting the data, building an application is it's been there for a while, but whereas taking the data with the large set of information and processing and building a model, it's been tough. By offering the cloud computing like AWS, Microsoft, and Google, it's much easier to deploy the app and run it and test it. Right, the testing and training the model is key in order to bring the accuracy. When it comes to AI, the accuracy does matter, as well as large data set does matter. I see both AI being mature as well as cloud computing, like AWS offers like multiple AI related services. And similarly, and Google and Microsoft offering it, it's much easier for me to build it. In olden days, say I have like few years ago, when I had to build something, it takes 6 months, right? even if I do follow the agile methodology, I need to look at the requirements and build the model, train the model, then deploy it. But whereas now we can do it in 2 sprints, about like 4 weeks. The first 2 weeks is where I can get requirement, build the design, and the next 2 weeks is where I can train it and test it and even deploy it into production. So this is going to continue to mature. I can see that both like well-tested models as well as cloud computing offerings. It's going to continue to mature. I think it's going to help us.
Yeah, so that is true. The cloud infrastructure does provide a huge amount of compute power in the background, much better than, say, having on an on-premises infrastructure. Is that right? So, yeah. Okay. And you have a lot of cloud service providers. You mentioned AWS, you mentioned Google, you mentioned Microsoft, having a huge amount of services that they can provide to support all of that innovation. So again, cloud being a catalyst for innovation in this space. So thank you. All right. So moving on to our next question. So we mentioned the infrastructure, the cloud infrastructure, but you also have governance frameworks, and there's a lot of discussions around responsible innovation and responsible AI. How critical are having those frameworks in place for regulated sectors, in particular healthcare and finance?
It is an important topic. We must constantly think about it when we are building the application, right? Say when you are building a model, when you are building an artificial intelligence system, you're training the model in certain way. It has to be both, profitable as well as responsible. Having this social and economical responsibility is a key, be it on the financial sector or even in a healthcare sector. We don't want to train a model just for the profitable purpose. For example, right, when you are in a lending business, obviously it's much easier to give a parameter of like high credit score, right, high income people getting the loans, whereas like rest of the population being ignored. That's much easier, but that is not responsible, right? Then if you keep building those models, some of the well-educated, with the right merit, a lot of students, they may be like rejected with their student loan, which is a bad thing, right? We want to make sure that when we are building the model, as a human, when we consider making a decision, we look at things holistically, right? Where they come from, what they are looking for, what they can achieve, and how we can offer like social and economical opportunities for different sectors of people. And when we are building a model, we want to make sure that the importance is like given for those models. For example, we talked about on the financial side of things. When it comes to healthcare, it's also the same thing, right? We can leverage any and all amount of personal data in order to build the right model with the right accuracy. But we also have to give importance, we must give importance to the privacy concerns, all right? And whenever we train the model, we want to make sure that PII and sensitive informations are like being removed. The model is only processed as the information that is needed, and things like that. So when we are building the model, the core platform, when you are building a ML ops platform, we want to make sure the foundation has all these attributes and the governance built in. So any and everyone build a model on top of that, build application on top of that, the governance aspects being addressed. I can see that each government entities across the world, they are coming up with the new frameworks, and also there are like mandates. We want to make sure that when we are building those models, we take those mandates and apply across the ML platform. Hope that is your question.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I really appreciate the fact that you focused on the responsible innovation aspect of it and the governance of it rather than the regulatory landscape. Because people, I think, often think in terms of, the law and what does the law allow or not allow. But your position is working on it responsibly, making sure that things are fair. So it's not just a matter of discrimination, it's a matter of being fair and responsible and ensuring that everyone has equal access to health care or even the loans that they need, student loans as an example. So, and that's an important distinction, especially in the news. You see a lot of things around legal frameworks and the restrictions that laws impose on the perception of innovation, that they're restricting innovation, but quite the opposite. They're enabling access to that innovation. So I really appreciate the fact that your position is the responsible aspect of AI.
Sure, sure. It is, in fact, similar to how we are applying and we used to apply information security frameworks, right? You got like NIFT framework, and you got like California-based privacy policies, and each state have their own privacy policies and frameworks. But as a company, it would be really hard when the policy gets changes, like governance keep changing to adapt. Instead, we kind of like accommodate or consider those parameters and build it responsibly with respect to the AI and ML model building. That's going to pretty much adhere to or address most of these frameworks where people are like introducing constantly.
So let's move on to the operationalization of it. So could you discuss the benefits and or potential drawbacks associated with employing AI in industries such as the healthcare industry and the financial services industry?
Yeah, so when it comes to operations, right, getting these implemented, um, that when it comes to scale and getting it implemented for across application, be it like a small startup or mid-sized organization, even a large enterprise, right? Um, Sometimes it is tempting for-profit organizations to kind of like deviate a little bit, right? And, to bring the accuracy or bring the profitability and things like that. But whereas when we are building the model, and such as like ML ops is like one of the things, right? Where you create a components, common components or the shared components for ML model building. Those components should take care of some of these aspects. So when you are implementing or operationalizing, it's not only in the documentation and your company policies where we follow this. Instead, you take those policies and build it as a code base and as a component. So with that, it won't deviate. You don't, which means we are building the guardrails, right? Security guardrails, as well as some of the deductive and preventive controls in place. So when you're building the applications, ML apps for various business needs, they don't go beyond the guardrails, as well as we have controls in place. That is going to help the operational aspects. So people cannot go beyond. It's like an RBAC policy in security, role-based access control. With that particular role, this is all they can do. If you're converting that RBAC into the ML guardrails, so this is all they can go to. Like they cannot go beyond this point, even if it is related to profitability. I hope that makes sense.
Before and privacy, how important is data in this operation? I can't speak today. Operationalization of the models.
It is extremely important. I think every organization now, they are facing a challenge of how to archive the data or harvest the data, how to nurture it, and how to use it right in order to train the model and bring the accuracy. It it is one of the hardest area, if you ask me, because when it comes to Google, they offer a lot of models, and like Google, and there are other companies, they um, they they provide the models like open source machine language code base. So if you take the code base and you apply on a certain data, and it gives the right amount of information. For example, let's talk about the healthcare in general, right? You have a model, you can give the image, and it is going to detect. Now, in order to bring the accuracy, say for example, cancer research, and if someone's saying like they want to build the right model with the high accuracy for early detection, breast cancer related work, the models are there, but can we access the data, especially for early detection? It is going to be really hard because of privacy concerns and for various reasons, right? Um, but without having access to this early data, it's a very sensitive personal information which people want to share. Of course, I do agree that they shouldn't, but that is a challenge. When we don't have a data, the model itself is not good enough. The program itself is not good enough because it's not tested with the large set of data sets for different ethnicity, different age group. So the more and more data we have access to, the model get mature and it can detect much early and it can give with a much higher accuracy. Let's relate to the doctors, right? So when it comes to X-ray or when it comes to any scanning mechanism, it is being given to a doctor, right? And the doctor is looking at the image and he's making a call or a decision to say, yes, there is an issue here, and with a certain confidence rate. So that decision, we are giving it over to the model or the AI. The decision can be done better only when we access the large set of data. So that is the challenge. There's the privacy concerns accessing it to a large set of data in order to train the model to bring the accuracy.
Yeah, that's an extremely important point. Having the data, accessing the data, but also the completeness of the data. And I've seen in the news, in particular, commentaries about the inequities in healthcare, and there are certain sectors that don't have as well documented conditions or results, so that impacts the completeness of your data. So that's a very, very important point. And I'm assuming that over time, this will be corrected in and of itself as AI models are deployed more and more and people have more access to healthcare.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next question, which is probably the most fun one from my perspective. And this is forward thinking. So if you could predict the future, looking ahead, what are the pivotal opportunities that you foresee for the healthcare and finance industries, or any regulated industry in particular, and how they leverage AI?
Sure. There are a couple of good ideas. It's if not like crazy ideas, right? So the moment a person like me, I walk into a doctor's office, right? And nobody asks any questions. I just fill in the form and I meet the doctor based on the scheduled time. And the doctor tells me, hey, you have a common cold, and this is your health conditions, and this is the prescriptions. I filled in everything for you. Do you have any questions? Which means that the machine can, by looking at my facial expression and various data, right, and it can be a wearable device and non-wearable devices that can scan and kind of give a right prescription. And of course, it is the human. There should be a human interactions to oversee and say like, this is right, this is wrong, and I'm giving you the prescription. So that is what I would look for. I'm sure like there are a ton of companies working on it. And similarly on the insurance side, right? Insurance in US in general, there is a large amount of money being spent in order to just adhere to the complex processes, right? And that can be largely simplified if you are able to build the AML models, right? When the doctor prescribed from there, right, prescription is being done, the medications get dispatched to the persons, the billing is done. Materials or data being collected by the banks, and they just need to process everything. Hey, you got this loan, this is what your approval rate, and we got everything for you. So you don't need to provide 20 set of documents in order to get a loan, be it like a student loan or a housing loan or any of these. Right, I think those are the two things could be a good idea, and it is going to make a best or better customer experience than what we currently have.
So what I'm hearing is it's not just increasing access to these services and improving the customer experience, but on the backside of it, there's the enhancing the operational efficiency, transparency, and competition aspect. So it's kind of two-sided. You have the customer experience aspect, but you also
use the number of errors. And I think you can implement the Six Sigma policies. You can automate pretty much. So it gives less number of errors and the customer being happy. They get the right products and they get it on right time. And based on their expectations, because we collect the data, we kind of synthesize it and we understand that what makes sense for that person. Just that we need to improve the accuracy so we can work on both operational efficiency on the back end, like you said, as well as it is going to provide a better customer experience.
so in a sense, it creates a feedback loop as well, because you said increasing accuracy. So that is data that feeds into the models, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So you offer products and services to the customer, and based on how they feel, they provide the feedback, right? Of course, customers are super dissatisfied, as Jeff Bezos always says, right? And they want more and more, and they want to have a better utility, be it like a time utility or money and whatnot, right? And the feedback loop come into operations, and you kind of get it implemented. So you'll be able to provide better customer experience.
Excellent. All right, then. So unless you have anything else you want to add, do you have any closing statements?
Yeah, there is one thing. I'm super glad we are here. We are discussing about this. Fintech for Good as a nonprofit organization, and it is offering bringing in the intellectual information in terms of like knowledge being shared across the industry people, right? It helps us to see where we are, how the industry is trending, and what is important, right? Especially when it comes to social responsibility, ethical AI. These are the key aspects. When you think about it, when there is a thought, obviously you can put into actions, be it for implementing our own organizations, or even in general, as a society, as a governance, we want to continue to implement what is right and what is responsible, especially when you're building, providing in artificial intelligence, which is we have a very less control over. When you build it right. With that, thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, thank you. Build it right. Those are great closing words. So thank you all for joining us on the AI 2030 show. Today, we embarked on an illuminating discussion with Ganesh, delving into the transformative interplay between artificial intelligence and cloud infrastructure within finance and healthcare. And through our dialogue, we explored critical aspects of the adoption of AI in regulated sectors, emphasizing the importance of robust governance and operational frameworks. Additionally, we navigated the benefits associated with employing AI in the customer experience aspect, as well as the back office efficiency and operations. So thank you, Ganesh, for your expertise. It's been invaluable in shedding light on this very important topic. And thank you to our audience.
Thanks, Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you.